Okay, well, it was all my fault for the delays.
You know, I had to leave, and it made me real sad.
Here we are, this is real life. This whole video series is gonna spill over into August just because we have everything else all ready to go except for this, and we have one goal, which is to get the three-rotor to a point where it's no longer domed, it's actually straight up a finished phase of the vehicle. We've had to do a couple different things, and as I showed you in the previous video, that swirl tank just needed some serious love, and
I heard you guys, it sucks. I get it. I take responsibility because I was tired and I was under immense stress and pressure. I knew better and I didn't do better. We're here, we have everything fixed. The water pump's in the right spot, swirl tank is updated, new intercooler pipe placement. I actually had to switch it over to a two-piece, which I hate, but it still does not look bad. We're all good to go, right?
Yeah. So the previous system worked and we got to do that drive-through, and obviously it would have overheated if it was that bad, but it was just a couple circumstances where the pump being obviously in its own high peak spot, as air accumulated there, you couldn't bleed it off in real time, and at some point, not completely full of air, but a partial amount of air, and the pump would just start spinning. It would stop sending coolant into the engine. We're gonna go ahead and do a real quick coolant test, show you how the system will operate beautifully. We should be able to run it without it completely closed until the car warms up. We got some really cool things to show you, and this week's gonna be insanely nuts.
Huge shout out to TurboSmart, not only hooking us up with the wastegate, but they have speed flow fittings. So they actually helped us out with some actual 20 AN fittings and some hose. So these things are super nice compared to the stuff I was using before. Remaking some oil lines right now. And these things are just quality. Made in Australia, so you guys could go over there and get the same fittings that are on the three-rotor. Now I have a cap on the top of the radiator, so we're going to be able to fill from here and fill from the swirl tank. And this is in the S20, so you don't need family strength.
Did it really work?
To watch. You see that? Obviously we failed on the daily video things to you guys, but for us, you guys have to understand our days are 3, 4, 5 days sometimes. My dad called me and was like, hey, I'm about to put you on a milk carton, and I was like, hey, I'll see you when I see you, homie. That's kind of fucked up. But technically we're ahead of schedule because I only had like, what, 5 nights of sleep this month, so we're technically on the 5th day. So now we're gonna add in our coolant and obviously the Valvoline to thumb in the butt, like that. Pour up for all the dead homies, all the dead rotaries out there. And I personally think this is the best stuff to run an additive, and then distilled water. It has always been great to me. I've never had any problems.
So this is a real quick snippet because you guys know that I know that we don't want to do rinse and repeat over and over again, but this is truly what it takes to do something right when you don't have the answers all in front of you to Google. This is insane. I think you can tell, even without having to look at numbers or graphs, you can tell that this car is getting faster and faster. It's still on the shitty 4-year-old wheels, and there was no downtime, and that was still not full throttle, but oh my God, I could hear the car hooking quicker. The active traction control turned off so much sooner, and then the car sent it, and I have the strain gauge working, so it went to the next gear just fine. I didn't even go all the way up in the RPM. I'm very, very happy.
Could you say that it's the same
so
animal,
it is,
but a different beast?
Yeah, each time we revisit this car, I know the car. It's familiar to me. Like it is the same.
This is like 5 different beasts now. You know?
This is like 7. Any of my geeky friends know like Theseus' ship or Abe Lincoln's axe. Which is it still the 3-rotor? If it's a different handle and a different axe and a different handle, yeah. I want you guys to be part of this real quick moment. This is the first time I am actually going to flat shift under power. So the strain gauge, everything's working. I had to make some small adjustments, but I'm going to keep the gas pedal down and then just simply, no clutch, just simply go from first to second on launch. So let's see how reactive the car is with just that.
He's gonna have ball spots on his tire now. He's making more smoke on the stop than the launch.
See that guy shit his pants as he was doing that? That guy was a little bitch. He shit his pants for sure. That first to second though, that guy definitely was.
Man, oh man,
it's the sewage,
dude.
the sulfur from the ocean is. Hey guys, I'm gonna go to the front. I'm gonna go to the front and go change my underwear. Oh my God, I lied. That wasn't 100% throttle, but it was keeping into the car as much as possible. But the car wanted that. That first to second was like, there was no time. I want to see the log to see how fast that was. So like I said, I stayed into it much harder, but I was at 60% RPM in first gear, and then I fucking let off to make that shift. Now that shift, just for reference, that shift was a quarter of a second. That was less than 0.3 of a second, so that it's just getting faster and faster. This time I'm gonna do one more where I gotta mentally stay in the pedal and pull it.
Do a burnout too to get sticky tires.
I don't know if it'll work, just because I have all the launch controls turned on.
It sounds good on camera, but it sounds even better in
It sounds amazing, yeah. So
you guys are all jealous because it does sound way better in person.
I'm gonna need to do burnouts to warm up the tires when I do the drag or even street launches, and I have traction control turned on, so we just turned this into a modern luxury car. Check this out. Traction control off, traction control on, off, on, and it's always going to start on. That way, if I get like all freaked out, it's always on. But I can turn it off.
I got some this versus that flashbacks.
All I can say is the road turn. Oh my God, the car is so sick. Got to dial it in a little bit, but that was just simply pulling. And my God, does that feel good. Did it feel in control?
Yeah.
Did you see what happened?
Yeah, I did see what happened.
That looked like what it felt like. I'm fucking with you. It was an absolute rush. I've never shifted this car so fast, so violently. We are on a warpath, and I've got a lot to unbox all at once, so bear with me. These are the rear shocks for the car. These are 6 kilogram per inch per centimeter, whatever, springs. That's still, even though that's roughly a little more firm than the stock FD ones, they're still too firm for drag launching. And so thankfully, my buddy Roy, you guys will have seen Roy's car. It's this beautiful Bathurst 4-rotor stock FD, utterly amazing. It's what my cars wish they looked like. He introduced me to this idea. It's so fun trying to learn all this stuff on your own, but when you have people willing to teach you quick tips and hey, we use this, life gets crazy. So we are swapping over to a trusty Eibach, which that part doesn't really matter, to be honest, but it is a much larger and as a result, softer spring. So this is a 14-inch spring. This is 2.5 inches in diameter, so it's meant for things inside diameter. And then it's 150 pounds per inch. So if I step on this, because I weigh a lot more than 150 pounds, this thing will move an inch and a quarter, or inch and a quarter, inch and a half. It's a much more flexible spring because that's what's going on. We will have to crush this down quite a bit because you probably look at this and go, that's not gonna work. It is, because what you do is the car weighs 700 pounds on each tire. That means at 150 pounds each, this thing's already gonna compress 5 inches before the car's even at ride height. So if we pull a wheelie in the car, let's just keep simple numbers here, and we take all the weight from the front of the car, put it in the back, that's another 700. So this will compress down to what's called block height of about 4 inches. Block height on a spring, by the way, is when you compress a spring to where all of these are touching each other. It becomes a block. That's about 4 inches. And so that means that we will be a very soft rear suspension and hopefully get more weight transfer to the rear. We're gonna test that on the road at the end of this video. I wasn't originally gonna do this, but we wanna try and add it all up and get you guys moving as quick as possible. So this is the 350 pound per inch spring, and this one is the 150. And you can actually see right here how much firm this one is. And so this one only had to drop 2 inches to get that 700 pounds onto it, where this one has to drop 5. So this one will end up being about 1 inch taller than this one is now. It's gonna look funny because this straight up looks like, okay, well, we messed up, but that is actually not the case. That 200 pounds though. We've got this compressed just enough just pushing the last little bit down. It is not the ideal situation. Actually, honestly, putting it back in the car would have been a little bit less off-centered. This just a lot of spring all at once. I just don't want to shear the threads going to put this.
That was a pretty good fuck up.
Now that we've got almost a full thread in on this one, we'll just gently. So there we are at full maximum spring, but if we go to put this on the car right now, it'll bottom out on there. So what we need to do is get a tape measure, and we need to measure using math, knowing that this is 700 pounds, which means 5 inches of drop. We take a 14-inch thing, and we need to go 5 inches in, and that would be roughly the preload, the ride height for the spring. So 14 down to 9. So we need to just screw this thing in, 1/8. We finally got them back on, a little later than we were hoping. It's already dark again, so we're gonna try and get the headlights working so we can do the street pass. But we swapped over to the 150 pound per inch springs, and it's looking a lot more tasty. So not only the rubber itself, but also the shock clearance. We'll see just how well that works. We'll do a quick little pass in our little area just to see how these new rear springs work, make sure they're in the right spot, and then we'll swap over to headlights and do a street pull. Okay, even that being my very first time shifting to third gear with no lifting. You know, I lifted a little bit, but that is ridiculous. The car is not slipping, and to 80 miles an hour, we're already faster than the Ferrari. It's ridiculous. This is utterly insane. And we put on our 10-year-old drag tires just because they're actually able to hook more than my 4-year-old other tires. But let me show you what we got in store for tomorrow. Now we're getting back on the daily train today. This video kicked our ass, and I try not to release stuff if it's not ready, like if it's not ripe, but we've made major progress this time. We've got bead locks that we've made ourselves. I'll give you a hint right now. We have the wider, brand new drag radials for the back of the car. I just wanted to do everything possible. This car squats even harder now with the really soft springs. It hooks, it holds. Now it's time to say we can step up our game with better traction on the rear wheels. So very exciting. We did it with what we had. If we had all of this at our disposal when we were at This Is Versus That, we would have beat the Ferrari. That's what's really cool about all of this. Suspension, the wastegate being in the correct spot, rear springs being the correct amount, proper tires, proper everything. All of that together has made this possible. So really exciting. You guys are gonna like the next 2-3 videos because we've got to celebrate our 900,000 subscribers, right? And I am trying to pull that damn wheelie on this car, and I have no question of whether or not it's going to do it. The question is, can I control it when it comes back down?